Today we are going to be talking about reflection as part of our topic on transformations. So the reflection will be against the y-axis or the x-axis. We're going to start by putting in an equation. So in this particular example, we have bracket x minus 2 close bracket squared. So it's a quadratic graph. Okay, now we're going to enter another equation, and this time we're going to be putting a negative sign, and this is going to be outside the function. So I'm using the slope plot to see the movement of the graph as it is being reflected over the x-axis. So take note that if you put a negative outside the function, the reflection is over the x-axis. So your mirror line is the x-axis. Now let's put in another equation, and this is now a trigonometric graph, which is the graph of sine x. So we're gonna put in the right axis here using degrees, and this is your sine graph. We're going to enter another equation, putting in the negative sign, and this time again it's put in outside the function. So the negative sign is before sine x. Y is equal to negative sine x. So if your negative sign is put in outside your bracket or your function, it is reflected along the over the x-axis. So your default graph was the red one, and the reflected graph is the brown one. Now let's put in another equation. This time the negative sign is inside the bracket, so just before the x, and this is a quadratic graph. Your default graph was x minus 3. So that is your default graph. Now we're going to put in the equation with a negative sign, which is inside the bracket and just before the x. So the red graph is your default graph, which is bracket x minus 3 close bracket squared, and the reflection is the brown graph, which has been reflected over the y-axis. So the movement is along the x-axis and over the y-axis, which is your mirror line. And that's it now for our topic on reflection.